Sometimes yesterday, on Tuesday, President Trump announced a 2 week ceasefire between the belligerents that have been prosecuting the war that concern Iran, the United States of America, and Israel. However, ever since yesterday, when President Trump announced the ceasefire, instead of the expected Tuesday threat, where he actually threatened to bomb all Iranian bridges and power plants, and Israel also promised to bomb all Iranian train stations and train infrastructure. What has ensued since yesterday, Tuesday, has been nothing but a bedlam of confusion. Confusion in the sense that, first and foremost, each of the three major belligerents all claimed their victory. All sides insisted that it was the side that won. However, not all the three sides could sustain or could approve or could corroborate, the actuality of the so-called victory. Apart from that, there has been quite some confusion as to what exactly the items, the elements of the ceasefire are, you know, particularly when it comes to each of the fighting, each of the feuding entities. For example, in the case of the United States of America, President Trump is a spokeswoman, and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, have all gone to the media, have all addressed press conferences, and in those press conferences, they have all given quite bombastic views of this ceasefire. They have insisted, for example, that they have essentially beaten Iran to surrender, and it is because Iran has lost all fighting will, all fighting capacity, and all fighting capabilities that Iran eventually capitulated into a ceasefire. It is important to state that most of the claims, pale into relative factual insignificance if you look at the actual facts on the ground in Iran. On the side of Iran has also claimed that the United States of America, enacted the ceasefire, suggested the ceasefire, and followed through with it on the basis of 10 demands it made and sent to the Pakistanis, who happen to be the intermediary, between the feuding factions. However, the United States of America insisted that the 10-point plan that Iran raised is starkly different from the 10-point plan it is working with. Unfortunately, the United States of America has refused to release, its own 10-point plan, on the basis of which it agreed to a ceasefire with Iran. In the case of Israel, it's a completely it's a completely different ball game. When the ceasefire started, when the Americans announced the ceasefire, they made absolutely no mention of Israel at all. A few minutes after the announcement of the American ceasefire with Iran, Israel announced that it was joining the ceasefire. However, a crisis ensued. Israel insisted that Hezbollah is not part of the ceasefire. Iran insisted that Hezbollah is part of the ceasefire. President Trump and his spokeswoman announced that Hezbollah is not part of the ceasefire, while Pakistan insisted that Hezbollah is part of the ceasefire. Unfortunately, the Israelis actually went on to attack Lebanon, and they have killed over 254 people, and they have wounded over 1,000 people so far. Now, the Iranians have insisted that because Israel refused to honor the Hezbollah part of the ceasefire, that number one, they are going to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed, and they have followed through with their threat. How? Since the ceasefire started, Iran has only opened the Strait of Hormuz for 10 minutes, and only for two ships. Otherwise, every other ship that has attempted to pass through the Strait of Hormuz has been forcefully sent back, into the Gulf by Iran. Number two is that Iran has explicitly stated that if Israel does not stop, attacking Lebanon and Lebanese territory, that it is not going to attend the Friday, negotiation meeting that is supposed to happen between the Iranians, and the Americans, and as hosted by Pakistan in Islamabad, which is the capital of Pakistan. Number three is that Iran is insisting that it has started to prepare military options. Essentially, it has started to gather targets, within Israel that it is going to attack in retaliation for the Israeli attack on Lebanese territory, ostensibly to punish Hezbollah. Now, the question is, what is now happening currently as we speak, so that we can stay away from the realm of conjecture, we can stay away from the scourge of fake news, and we can know what exactly is obtaining, on the territory of each country as at press time. When you speak about America, you know that America is not even a physical belligerent in this war. So nothing is happening on the territory of continental America. However, as to the Gulf countries, in the early hours of the ceasefire, they sustained quite some firepower from Iran in terms of missiles and drones. But as things are currently, things seem to have calmed down substantially on the territory of the Gulf Arab countries in terms of attacks from Iranian territory. So that is that. Now, on the case of Israel, Israel too seems to have suffered little to no attacks, as at the press time. Hezbollah has almost completely down the tools, and Iran is also not firing missiles and drones into Israeli territory at this time. That takes care of Israel. But on the side of Iran also, America and Israel seem to have actually obeyed the ceasefire when it comes to Iran. Just before I came to the studio to shoot this video, some 4 Iranian cities actually activated their air defense systems, and they were firing off. However, it was discovered that they really were not firing at any belligerent drones or missiles or any activity from the Americans and the Israelis. So largely Iranian territory is quiet. About the only territory that is really not quiet at this time is Lebanese territory. Israel is trying as hard as possible to separate the Iranian and the Lebanese file, to ensure that the Iranians stop looking back to protect the Lebanese interests. But the Iranians, by blocking the Strait of Hormuz, by threatening not to attend the Friday meeting at the Islamabad with the Americans, and by insisting that they reserve the right to fire back into Israeli territory and essentially break the ceasefire like Israel is doing, are insisting that they are going to continue to support, and they are going to continue to defend the Lebanese brethren. So that is what is happening in terms of facts on each of those territories at this time, and this is so far a summary of the relatively imperfect and quite easy to break ceasefire that is currently being sustained within the ranks of Israel, the United States of America, and Iran, with the Gulf countries being minor belligerents, and with Lebanon currently suffering the greatest brunt of the ceasefire violations as of this material time. So as events unfold, as developments ensue, I will make sure to come and ensure that I update you and I analyze to you the realities and the real core of what obtains in each of these belligerent territories. Again, thank you for joining me on this episode. Don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe, to comment, and I will gladly take your questions and answer them. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.